Good morning, dear students. As all of you are present, so now let's start our class today. So, as I said in the last class, that today we'll be starting a new topic called definite integration. The word definite, says that why it is definite, and when we discussed about the indefinite integration, when you discussed about indefinite integration, we justified that why it is indefinite. If you recall that depending on the value of the integrating constant, you get the different values of that indefinite integration. Hence, it was known as indefinite integration. But here in this context, you will find the value of this, integration is specific, definite, fixed. Okay, when something is definite, fixed, you know, and not changeable, then we call it as a definite, right? Isn't it? So, I'd like to first define, what is, uh, how we find the definite integral. Please note that. So, to find the value of, definite integral, okay, we need to first find the value of that integral in indefinite form, and then we'll compute. So let's discuss first that how you find it out. Okay,
Okay.
just give me a few seconds, so that I can share the relevant note with you. Meanwhile, all of you are able to view the screen properly, and all of you are able to hear my voice properly.
Yes.
Okay, great. I hope all of you are able to view the screen.
Yes.
Okay. So the definite integral, how it is defined? It is defined as, as you see in the indefinite form of integration with a lower limit and upper limit. If you recall that that was the integration of fx dx, correct or not?
Yeah.
That was known as indefinite integral. But when we give this indefinite integral a limit, a is called the lower limit and b is called the upper limit. And what a and b? A and b are real numbers. Then we call this is a definite integral. So first thing is that in most of the mathematical terminologies, dear student, there is first is the denotation and second one is the definition. So how you denote? So denote is that it is integration a to fx dx a to b, or we can say integration a to b fx dx.
Okay.
By this denotation, we can say, oh, okay, a is the lower limit. So this is known as the lower limit. And b, this is known as the upper limit.
Okay.
So for example, if you get another integration, if someone is telling you, hey, we have an integration something like that, b to a gx dx, no problem. In context to that one, b become the lower limit
Yeah.
and a become the upper limit.
Yes.
Okay? So it depends on the context. So, but the denotation tells how to, we can say, how we can define. A to B, that means A is the lower limit, B is the upper limit. B to A, B is the lower limit, A is the upper limit. Correct? And there is no relationship between A and B. A and B, only thing is that they belongs to the real number. What means A could be less than B, A could be more than B, whatever. Okay?
Okay.
Only thing is that if A is equal to B, we will see later that it will not make much sense. Okay?
Okay.
Either A could be greater than B or A could be less than B. If A is equal to B, it will not be of much sense. We will see after some time. So unlike definite, so this is the way we first defined. Second one it is coming is that, unlike indefinite integral, unlike indefinite integral, definite integral has a definite. Definite means what? Unique. These are all English words, correct, no, dear students?
Yes. Yes.
Unique, fixed, not changeable. This is all called definite. It has a definite value, hence called definite integral. Let us understand by means of the following illustration. So suppose integration of fx gx is equal to c. So suppose integration of fx gx, you know how to perform indefinite integration. So suppose integration of fx gx is equal to gx plus c.
Mm.
As you know, gx is the integration result and c is the constant of integration or integrating constant. Correct or not?
Yes.
Now, how we can find the value of a to b fx dx? So from here, we can find the value of a to b fx dx is something like this. A to b fx dx is equal to, we write gx plus c. We'll write this thing. And in the lower, we write a. In the upper, we write b. That is the way to represent. Then what we'll do, dear students? We'll apply whatever the x, gx plus c, we'll apply the value b there. That means it will be gb plus c, correct or not?
Mm.
And then you will give a minus sign and give a bracket. Then we apply the value of a. That means ga plus c, correct or not?
Yes.
So now we'll make little bit of simplification. So that is gb plus c minus ga minus c.
Mm.
So you see plus c and minus c got cancelled. So we get
GB minus
gb
G.
minus ga. And you see, for specific value of b and a, gb and gb are specific. Means fixed. Means unique. So
Mm.
obviously gb minus ga will also be unique.
Yes.
Let's take an example. Things become simple and things become more understandable when you go with an example. So let me give an example. Suppose we want to find the value of the integration 2 to 5 x cube dx. Fine, not dear students. So then what is the integration x cube dx? If you recall, it is x to the power 4 by 4.
Oh, yeah.
And what is the lower limit? Lower limit is 2. Upper limit is 5.
Yeah.
Correct or not?
Yes.
Now, whatever we have learned so far, so what we can write? This is equal to, okay, let me write little bit, more clear manner. So, x to the power 4 by 4 plus c. So here it is lower limit is 2, upper limit is 5. Correct or not?
Yes.
So then it will become what? 5 power 4, as we learned that first we apply the upper limit value by 4 plus c
Mm.
minus, we'll write 2 to the power 4 by 4 plus c. One way of understanding why plus c is not getting changed, because it is a constant. Na? You see the c is constant. You really cannot apply the value of x there, upper limit or lower limit. Correct or not? Okay. Any
Okay.
confusion, dear students, never hesitate. So it becomes 5 power 4 by 4 plus c minus 2 power 4 by 4 minus c. So that becomes 5 power 4 by 4 minus 2 power 4 by 4. That also you can write 1 by 4 you can take common. It become 5 power 4 minus 2 power 4.
Yeah.
So this is a specific value. Correct or not?
Mm.
So that is why it is known as a definite integration.
Okay.
Clear or not clear?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. So what we get? We get 1 by 4, 5 power 4 minus 2 power 4.
Mm.
This value, what we see is a specific value, definite value. That is why we call this is a definite integration. Clear or not? Absolutely clear?
Yes.
Okay. So now let's go to the theory as I kept it here. So let fx gx, you see, let integration fx dx is equal to gx plus c, where c belongs to r, an integrating constant. Now c can be indefinite, c can have indefinite values, and for each of these values we will get indefinite values of the indefinite integral integration fx dx that we are already aware of.
Mm.
Now how we are finding the definite integral a to b fx dx is computed as below: a to b fx dx gx plus c a to b, you see here, then gb plus c minus ga plus c, exactly whatever I have done in the right hand side, to so that whenever something is printed you may think that okay, it is better to say if sir can write in hand and it will be well understood. So integration a to b fx dx is equal to gb minus ga. So this gb minus ga has a specific value, I repeat, correct or not? So we observe that the definite integral a to b fx dx has a definite, or at least that is unique value, gb minus ga, and hence we say this is a definite integration. Absolutely clear, dear students? Any doubt at
No.
absolutely clear? Huh?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Now think about the term integration. In English word integration means what? Integration means is actually, bring together, like
Mm.
addition, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah.
Integration means, you see that English word, if you could give a dictionary.com search of integration, you'll find, it is all summation. Okay,
Mm.
so that is what is called integration. So we will see that there is a great geometrical significance of definite integration. We'll see as time goes by. But before that, I'd like to tell you few things, and that we will be discussing later after few months, once we have a proper knowledge of limit and also have a great knowledge of sequence and series. Then we will see that how this definite integral can be used in different forms. Okay,
Okay.
so then what we see is that the definite integral a to b fx dx, okay, yeah. So what I say is that the definite integral a to b fx dx is introduced either as the limit of a sum. That limit of a sum we will see later, as I said a minute back. That limit of a sum we will discuss once we have a good understanding about limit and sequence and series. An antiderivative gx in the interval a to b, then its value in the difference between the value of gx at the endpoints gb minus ga. So we will focus mostly on the second part. But before that, I just want to touch base about the limit of the sum part also.
Mm.
But before that also, we would like to know that what is the geometrical significance of definite integration.
Mm.
So geometrical significance or geometrical interpretation of definite integral is our next part of discussion, and we will be spending few minutes on this particular topic, and very important, by the way.
Yes.
What is meant by that? And you will see that while you will be solving physics problem especially, that has immense application. Okay, and you will appreciate that yes, definite integration has such a great significance. Okay, So before writing any statement, I just want to tell you that what is meant by the geometrical interpretation. Geometrical interpretation means what? Whatever we are discussing, all these mathematics, writing fx, dx, a to b, if we can give some kind of a, pictorial description, some kind of a geometry form, and then you tell, okay, what exactly it represents by, correct or not? That gives a geometrical representation, some picture. So what we are doing first, so let's see, this is the x-axis, okay? The straight line, it doesn't look like an exact straight line. I'm drawing in my hand in the digital board, but it is well understood, na, dear students?
Yes.
So this is y-axis. So this is origin. So this is positive direction of x-axis. This is negative direction of x-axis. This is positive direction of y-axis, and this is negative direction of y-axis. Now I'm going to draw one curve. What is the curve? Suppose I have a curve something like this. This is our curve y equal to fx. Obviously, I can give example. You can think about circle, you can think about parabola, ellipse, hyperbola, or any other type of curve. In generic, I name the curve as y equal to fx. Clear or not clear?
Mm.
And whenever there is a curve, you can find its equation, and also you can draw it. We have drawn it. So now it comes what? That what is the meaning of integration a to b fx dx? So only point is that so far we are able to do the drawing of the curve y equal to fx. So what is a and b? A and b are nothing but the points on the x-axis. Suppose this is the point A and this is the point B. Correct or not? As I said in the beginning of the discussion of the definite integration, that a and b, that is lower limit and upper limit, are nothing but real numbers. Now, then as we found 2 points on the real number, so we draw 2 straight lines. One at the point a, 0, parallel to the y-axis, and another at the point b, 0, parallel to y-axis. So then we get this straight line, dear students.
Yeah.
Correct? So what we get so far? We get the curve y equal to fx. We get the straight line, parallel to y-axis at the point a, 0. And also we get a straight line parallel to y-axis at the point b, 0.
Okay.
And we also consider the x-axis. So we have now 4 different, curves. 3 straight line, 1 curve. 1 curve line, I can say. So what is this straight line? So suppose I give, this I give is capital A. This I give capital B, this point, okay? That capital A is means, what? A, 0 from the coordinate geometry. Capital B is actually, B, 0. Okay. Suppose this is capital C and this is capital D. Can someone please tell me what is the coordinate of the point capital C? Anyone? You can try. What is the x coordinate of the point C? Anyone, please? I'll appreciate if you can answer.
The x coordinate is b.
Fantastic. Very good. Y coordinate? Can someone say? Gurman, Sagnik, Srijita, Disha, Divansu?
Oh.
It is fine, Mohor. Yeah, it is fine if you, we have not discussed in that much, but at least you can apply your intuition and say. When it,
So
yeah, Gurman.
BC.
BC, obviously it is BC, means the length BC, but what is that length BC? Yes, you are correct in one way, capital BC, but what is that value of capital BC in terms of function? It is the value of the function fx at the point x equal to b, correct or not? Can I write fb?
Yeah.
All of you are getting my point, what I'm talking about.
Yes.
When you draw a curve, on that particular point, what is the value of the function? You apply x, na? Take value of x equal to that.
Mhm.
Agnik, Divanshu, Srijita, Disha, you got it, no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So I was expecting an answer. Now tell me, what is the coordinate of the point D? Divanshu, may I expect an answer? Yeah, anyone can. Yeah,
It'll
fine.
be A comma FA.
It is A comma FA. Very good. All these are not very important, by the way, to finding the coordinates. I'm just discussing. Now, what happened? What is that? What is the geometrical interpretation of integration a to b fx dx? You know, dear students, it is the area of the bounded region. Area of the bounded region, capital A, capital B, capital C, capital D, again back to capital A, because it is a bounded one. No?
Mhm.
So that means what? In simple terms, it represents the area of this region, what I'm marking in the green. Are you getting my point, dear students?
Yes.
Nothing else. So integration a to b fx dx is nothing but the area of the bounded region A, B, C, D, A. Anyone has any doubt to understand this one? Once it is clear, then I'll come to the formal definition, whatever we get it from the notes and all this stuff. But
Yes.
before that, it is very important that you understand.
Yes.
So what we see is that, so now let me come to the formal definitions. Okay. What I discussed, that also formal. I'm telling that exactly the way, the way it is written in notes or books or something. That's what I'm telling. So what is first, before that, it is very important that you understand the intent of it. So what it says now, if we read out statement, let fx be a function defined about the closed interval a comma b. You may think that what is defined over and closed interval, that we will discuss when we will discuss about limit, continuity and all this stuff. But we assume that the function is defined from a to b. Means it may possible the function may not define in some points between a to b, but that is not the case here. If a function is not defined between any points of a and b, that means you cannot draw the graph on those particular points. But
Yes.
we are defining, no, this is not such case. Then integration a to b fx dx, as you see, integration a to b fx dx represents the algebraic sum. That algebraic word is important. Of the areas of the region bounded by the curve y equal to fx, the x-axis and the line x equal to a and x equal to b. These are the four lines, no? The three lines and one curve.
Yes.
What are the three lines? First line was x-axis, that is what this is one. Second line was the straight line parallel to y-axis at the point a comma 0, that is nothing but x equal to a. Correct or not? What is the equation of the straight line AD? Equation of the straight line AD is nothing but x equal to a. Correct or not?
Yeah.
Equation of the line capital BC is nothing but x equal to b.
Mhm.
And x-axis, equation of x-axis is what? Y equal to 0.
Yes. Yes.
And the curve y equal to fx. These are the four, attributes. Three straight line and one curve. Correct or not?
Yes. Yes.
So then let me repeat. Let fx be a function defined over the closed interval a comma b. Then integration a to b fx dx represents the algebraic sum of the areas of the region bounded by the curve y equal to fx, the x-axis, and the lines x equal to a, x equal to b.
Mhm.
Dear students, here algebraic sum means that the area which is above x-axis will be added in the sum with positive sign, and area which is below the x-axis will be added with the sum negative in the negative sign. Let me show you by means of an example. Okay, then things will be much more clear. That is why the word algebraic is there. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Here, the algebraic sum means, so I emphasize the word algebraic sum, means that area which is above the x-axis will be added. That means if you see, this is the curve y equal to fx. No? This is the curve I have drawn here, y equal to fx. Sorry. And the integration is from a to b, means there are two straight line. One is x equal to a, this is this straight line. And another one is at x equal to b, which is this straight line, correct? And the x-axis, this is another straight line, correct? Then what is the region bounded by? So let me use some different color. So this is the region bounded by, correct or not? Then it is coming, this is the region bounded by, correct or not? Then there is a region, bounded by this one, correct? Then again there is a region bounded by this one, correct? Absolutely clear, dear students. So now the region which is above x-axis will be added. That means the regions I marked in green with the positive sign. That means it will be plus, this will be plus, correct? No? So let me use a different color. So this will be plus, this will be plus, correct? And below the x-axis, okay, that will be added with a negative sign. That means in very simple terms, if this is the area of the region A1, the area of the region A2, this is area of the region A3, and this is area of the region A4, the value of the integration should be A1 minus A2 plus A3 minus A4. Dear students, isn't it?
Yes.
So when you compute the value, but there is a small difference. Difference is that if the question is that find the area, then we do not know that some area is negative, correct? No, area is always positive. In context to the question, you need to add. If the question is that find the area of the region bounded by this, then obviously it should be added. But if you need to find the abstract value of the definite integration, then you need to go with the rule. Correct or not? Got my point? But, as long as the second part is concerned, that is to find the abstract value of the definite integration, you no need to have the graph. You just use the standard way of performing that indefinite integration. After that, you first apply the value of the upper limit and then minus the value of the function which you obtained after the indefinite integration, the lower limit. Got it, no?
Yes.
But here I said, just to mention, so the value of the definite integral can be positive, 0 or negative. Correct or not?
Yes.
Now, if you recall, dear students, that in the beginning of the discussion, I said that there is no constant relationship between A and B, that lower limit and upper limit, A could be less than B or A could be greater than B. But if A is equal to B, it is of no meaning. Now think about area of the region bounded by, y equal to fx, the x-axis, and the line x equal to A and x equal to A. B is equal to A, na?
Yeah.
You will get area 0. Correct or not?
Yes.
That point B, what you see, the point B has to move, na? This point B has to move towards A. Then what you will get? The BC will superimpose on AD. Correct or not? All of you are able to get my point, Disha? Absolutely clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that means BC is superimposed on AD. Now, if BC is superimposed on AD, how will you find that area? If I say that find the area of a rectangle where the two opposite sides are coinciding, then you will say, sir, it is 0. Correct or not?
Yes.
Similarly, so that's why. But if A is less than B or greater than B, you can do it. In this case, B is greater than A. It is possible that B is less than A. That is also possible. We can do this thing. We'll get negative value. That's it. Nothing else. But we get a specific value. So that is why, if the lower limit, if in some context you will get the value of that definite integration can be negative also. Correct or not? Clear or not clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what I'm going to discuss is the definite integral as a, just touch base on this particular topic. As I said in the beginning, that we'll be discussing, we'll have a separate specific classes for finding the definite integral as a limit of a sum. But before that, I would like to just touch base that what is meant by that. Okay. So what is meant by the definite integral as a limit of a sum? So that I want to just touch base. I repeat, we'll have a specific class later once we have a solid understanding on limits and on sequence and series. Okay. So I just want to touch base because, and if you have any specific interest, we can have a class, later, not too far, to have limit and sequence and series, and then again come back to this one. What is meant by that? Definite integral as a limit of a sum. Let fx be a continuous function defined over the closed interval a comma b. Now, the definite integral a to b fx dx can be expressed as a limiting case of the summation of an infinite series. What is that? That integration a to b fx dx is equal to limit of h. I will explain what is h, because as of now you understand that h is a new term has been introduced by Sir. H, where n tends to infinite, so n is another term introduced. So far we are aware of only ab and fx. So from where h and n came. So I'll explain. Summation of r equal to 0 to n minus 1 f of a plus rh, where h is equal to b minus a by n. Now you understand what is h and n. So n tends to infinite. That means what? N tends to infinite means is that if you make n infinite, h will be very, very less, isn't it? Correct or not? Hello? Are you getting my?
Yes.
So what it generally says is that, dear students, we'll discuss all these things later in details, but I just want to give you the initial idea. So this is positive direction of x-axis, this is negative direction of x-axis, this is positive direction of y-axis, this is negative direction of y-axis, and this is origin. And suppose we have a curve, something like this, y equal to fx. Correct, no, dear students?
Yes.
Then what is happening is that we have 2 points, x equal to a and x equal to b. So this is one straight line, this is another straight line. This is the point, a comma 0, and this is the point b comma 0. Then what happened is that we are dividing that entire region into small strips. Correct, no? I'm just giving an idea that how it actually being computed like this. Idea, not the exact mathematical, formulation. So you see, now think about that the distance between, suppose you consider this straight line and this straight line. That width we defining as h. Now, if we make infinite number of such parallel lines, what will happen? The distance between two parallel lines will become very, very less. Correct or not?
Yes.
And that is defined as h. H is nothing but is the distance between the two parallel lines. And what is n? N is that such of division. So as if that entire region, if we can make in divided in almost infinite number of parallel lines, the distance between two parallel lines become very, very less. Correct or not?
Yes.
So from this relation, as you see, dear students, h is equal to b minus a by n. When n becomes infinite, h becomes 0. Or we can say in a mathematical word, when n tending to infinite, means when n approaching to infinite, h is tending to 0. That means h is approaching to 0. Correct or not?
Yes.
Then why so? Then you can ask us why we need to divide that with so many, almost near to infinite number of parallel lines. There is a reason. You see, dear student, that when we find this particular, let's consider this particular case. this particular straight line, this particular straight line, this particular straight line, this line, and this one. Okay, what do we get? Almost we are getting a rectangle, correct or not?
Yes.
Now, let me take this in this form. It becomes something like this, no, dear students. If someone is not able to understand, please do let me know. Never hesitate, because hesitation doesn't make any sense. Okay, it is your understanding. You need to make your understanding clear. And you get this one, na? Correct? This is the curved part, and all these are straight line, correct or not?
Yes.
So what we say, it is a kind of a rectangle, but not exactly rectangle.
Mm.
But how it can be rectangle? If we make even smaller, correct or not? Think about. Let me give you an analogy. When you see a curve from a very, very long distance, you'll find it is a straight line. And at the same time, when you see a curve from a very, very near distance, very near to your eyes, you'll find it is also a straight line, isn't it?
Mm.
Think about when you are going with your parents in a long route, long drive, and you see there is a high tension line in a long, distance in the village area.
Mm.
You find that very long distance high tension line appears to be a straight line, isn't it, dear students?
Yes.
And
Yes.
also, study table, you draw a curve and start looking into the curve, putting your eyes very near to the page where you draw, then you'll find it appears like a straight line on this particular points, isn't it, dear students? Divansu, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that means that is the reason that we are breaking into a small rectangle, and the pattern of rectangle will be more solid, means it will appears to be more clear rectangle as we make this is very, very small. But you cannot overlap. The moment it is overlap, it becomes zero,
Mm.
correct or not? But it should not overlap, but it should be very, very close by.
Mm.
And then we are adding all these things, and how this adding happens, why you are applying the concept of limit there, that will have a different class. But I just give you an essence of it, that why it is so. So what we see is that integration a to b fx dx can be expressed as that limit n tends to infinite h summation of f of a plus rh r equal to 0 to n minus 1, where h is equal to b minus a by n. The converse is also true. What does it mean? That is, if we have an infinite series of the above form, it can be expressed as a definite integral. Correct? So this method is known as integration by first principle. If you recall, dear students, think about differentiation by means of first principle. We have not discussed so far, na?
Yeah.
Similarly, integration by first principle we will also discuss later, classes. Because our class nowadays is actually confined how it can help, the mathematical concept of calculus can help us to solve problem in physics.
Mm.
Okay, and this integration by first principle or differentiation by first principle are so analytical and specific for mathematical discussion. Okay, but we should understand the essence of it. Hence I said that what is the area under a curve and how that area is actually found. So we see, by means of integration by first principle, we can perform the following two evaluations. The first one is that evaluation of a definite integral by expressing it as infinite series. And second one is that evaluation of an infinite series by expressing it as a definite integral. Both the things, correct? And both the things needs a prerequisite knowledge of sequence and series and limit. Once we gain this thing, we'll come back and have a detailed discussion. Is it clear, dear students?
Okay. Yes.
Now I'm going to discuss something different. That is it's called that I'll also give a touch base, and then we will actually look into the properties of definite integration. But before that, I'd like to tell you two fundamental theorem of calculus. What is the first fundamental theorem of calculus and what is the second fundamental theorem of calculus? Just I would like to explain you. Okay. So dear students, as you see, the first fundamental theorem of calculus, what it says, let fx be a continuous function defined over the closed interval a comma b. Then we define a function called capital Fx is equal to integration a to x ft dt. Is differentiable at every point x belongs to a comma b closed interval, and ddx of capital Fx is nothing but ddx of integration of a to x ft dt. That should be equal to fx. Obviously, you know, in a inverse process of differentiation, if you think that if you differentiate an integrand, then you'll get the same function. Now
Yeah.
think about I'm just saying that, you know, from this point, if you take a function, first you integrate, whatever you get, now you differentiate, you will get back the same function. Now
Yeah.
so that actually is saying, but in a very light term I'm saying so. Okay. And the second one is that second fundamental theorem of calculus, that is something like this. This is also known as Newton-Leibniz formula. Just for your information, you know, after that we'll proceed to the, you know, main part of the discussion. The second fundamental theorem of calculus says that let fx be a continuous function defined over a closed interval a comma b, closed interval, and there exists a function capital Fx defined over the closed interval a comma b such that capital F dash x is equal to fx, lowercase fx, for all x belongs to the open interval a comma b. Then integration a to b lowercase fx dx is equal to capital Fb minus capital Fa. And that also I hope you understand if you just apply the fundamental concept of, you know, differentiation and integration, and hence it is known as fundamental theorem. Now you may think that, okay sir, you are talking about fx is a continuous function. What is a continuous function? We'll discuss later, but in simple term I can tell you, if while you are drawing a curve of a function, you no need to lift your pen, that is called a continuous function. Okay, suppose what? Suppose the function is given to you y equal to fx, and what you are doing, you are just drawing for that curve. Okay, and while drawing, you no need to lift your pen. It is a continuous function. Now it may possible there are some curves, suppose another curve y equal to gx. Okay, while drawing that curve, you will find there are some points where the function is not defined, so you need to lift your pen and draw that other person.
Yeah.
Then you say, no sir, this curve is not, this function is not continuous, and these are the point of discontinuity, whatever the points you see now, dear students, I am drawing.
Yes.
In very simple term, very simple term. If someone asks you in some interview or something that, okay, without doing any kind of analytical mathematics, how you can tell whether a function is continuous or not, your simple answer should be, while drawing that curve using my pen, okay, if I do not need to lift my pen, then the function is continuous. If I need to lift the pen to again draw back, then it is a discontinuous function, and wherever the points I had to lift my pen, these are the point of discontinuity in simple term. And that is why now you go back to the word, you know, English word continuous. Continuous means which is actually happening, okay, without interruption. That is called continuous, no?
Yes.
So here also we are drawing a curve where without any interruption, hence the function was continuous, which is in red color. In blue color, you see I draw the curve where I need to lift my pen, so that means there are interruptions, and hence it is discontinuous. And what are the discontinuous point? These are the points where I had to lift my pen. Okay, that is all about the fundamental theorem and the very basic of continuity of function. Now we are going to discuss, which is very important, is the properties of definite integration. There are some properties of definite integration, and these properties, dear students, you need to remember very well. Okay, and how well you remember, that actually defines, how clearly you can apply all these, properties to achieve the result. Okay. So now in my next, few minutes, I'm going to discuss the properties of definite integrals.
Yes.
I hope all of you are able to view the screen, dear students.
Yes.
Yeah. So following are some important properties of definite integral. First one is that integration a to b fx dx is equal to integration a to b ft dt. Obviously,
Yeah.
here only the parameter, the variable is changing from x to t.
Mm.
Now, second one is that, so this is the first one. Second one is that integration a to b fx dx is equal to minus of integration b to a fx dx. I hope you're getting the point. Think about how. Suppose you get an integration. Let me do it here itself. Suppose you get an integration, you know that integration fx dx is equal to gx plus c. That's indefinite integration. So from here, what we can say? Integration a to b fx dx should be what? Gb minus ga, right? Now, dear students,
Yes.
gb minus ga. But now, if we say integration b to a fx dx,
GA minus.
so that is minus gb minus ga, correct or not?
Yes.
So that should be what? ga minus gb,
Mm.
correct or not? So that is minus of gb minus ga.
Mm.
gb minus ga. So that is equal to minus of integration a to b fx dx, correct or not, dear students?
Yes.
All of you got it?
Mm.
Tagnik, absolutely clear? Disha? Trijita?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Devanshu, Shagnik, absolutely clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I'm going to discuss the third property. Okay. Third property is something like this. Okay, so this is the third property. It says that integration a to b fx dx, integration a to b fx dx is equal to integration a to c fx dx plus integration c to b fx dx. C could be any point. Okay, I repeat. So suppose you get integration, here also you can see actually by means of this thing, integration a to b fx dx, what we are getting from that previous example, gb minus ga, dear students.
Mm.
Correct or not? So now what we are doing is that integration a to c fx dx. So if you make integration a to c fx dx, it will be what? gc minus ga.
Yeah.
Correct or not?
Yes.
And integration c to b fx dx.
GB minus GC.
Yes, gb minus gc. Now you add these two. If you add these two, what you are going to get?
GB minus G.
gb minus g. So if you add, what you will get? You will get gb minus g, na?
Yes.
Gurman, absolutely clear? That is equal to a to b fx dx. Correct? Absolutely clear? So this is the third property. Disha, absolutely clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I'm going to the fourth property. So fourth property is what? Fourth property tells that integration 0 to a fx dx is equal to integration 0 to a f of a minus x dx. So what it says is that integration 0 to a fx dx is equal to integration 0 to a f of a minus x dx. You can explore by your own, dear students, to establish this. Okay. You'll find that why it is so. You can make a substitution and find that integration. I leave it to you. But this is a property. See, there are two things. One is that you can just remember this as a properties, or also you can justify how come this property has come. So for the first few examples I showed how come this property has come. The rest you can do by your own. If you face any difficulty, you can let me know always. Okay. Now I'm going to the fifth property. And I repeat, most important thing is that you need to remember these properties. That is very, very important. There should not be any compromisation on as long as the memorization of these properties are concerned, because the cost is that if you do not memorize, you will not able to apply. As simple as that. So what I'll say is that this is a fifth property. What is that? Integration a to b fx dx is equal to integration a to b f of a plus b minus x dx. This is the most generic with respect to 4. From fifth property, you can go back to the fourth property. You know how? If you replace a is equal to 0 and b is equal to a, right? Then integration a to b fx dx become integration 0 to a fx dx. No?
Yes.
All of you got it? Then what will happen? It becomes 0 to a to b becomes 0 to a, and f of a plus b becomes 0 plus a minus x. A plus b minus x becomes 0 plus a minus x. That is f of a minus x, which is the fourth property.
Yes. Good.
So fifth one is the most generic one. Okay. Now I'm going to discuss about the sixth, seventh, and there are total 8 properties. Sixth property I'm going to discuss now. Very important properties, especially in integration of trigonometric functions, definite integration of trigonometric functions. It is applied a lot, and other functions also. Okay. So all this, whatever you are learning today, now, dear students, it is going to be immensely helpful in your entire physics. Okay. Now, if you solve some kinematics problem by your own, and while you need to find the area, then you apply the concepts of indefinite integration, you'll find, oh, it is so simple. It is so, as Einstein said, mathematics is the language of physics, and this is a real proof of that. Okay, now let me come to the point 6. 0 to 2a fx dx is equal to, it has two different values depending on the nature of the function. If you find f of 2a minus x equal to fx, the value is 2a times integration 0 to a fx dx. Okay. But if you find f of 2a minus x is equal to minus of fx, then you will get it is a value of the integration is 0. Okay. You can take some example of trigonometric functions. Okay. If you think of that a is equal to pi by 2. So sine of pi minus x is equal to what? Sine x, not dear students. You can take, for example, once the class is done, you can take that fx equal to sine x. Then you start finding integration 0 to pi sine x dx. Okay, got it? You first find and then apply the property, you will find the same thing, because sine of pi minus x is equal to what? Sine x. So that is what? A is equal to pi by 2, 2 into pi by 2. Correct or not? Yes. F of 2a minus x should be what? That is equal to f of pi minus x. That is sine x, na? Yeah. So as it is true, so it will be integration as if. So instead of integration 0 to pi sine x dx, we can directly write 2 into integration 0 to pi by 2 sine x dx. Got it?
Mm.
And you know what is integration of sine x minus cos x, and you can proceed. And you can take another trigonometric function for which sine of pi minus x is minus sine x. For example, cos.
Yeah, cos minus.
And for that, you will find that integration value is 0. Got it, na?
Yes.
So in summary, what I can say, integration 0 to 2a fx dx is equal to, it will be 2 times integration 0 to a fx dx if f of 2a minus x is equal to fx, and it will be 0 if f of 2a minus x is equal to minus fx. Okay. I have 2 more properties left. So the 7th property I'm going to discuss, that is also very, very important. Very important. These are the properties, extremely important. Especially, I repeat, for solving, integration of trigonometric functions. So what is that? Integration minus a to a fx dx. Here, it is integration minus a to a fx dx is equal to 2 times integration 0 to a fx dx if f of minus x equal to fx. Dear students, when f of minus x equal to fx, that is also known as a even function. And this integration will be 0 if f of minus x equal to minus of fx. In that case, we know this function is known as a odd function. Let me give an example of even function and odd function. Let's take very simple thing, fx equal to x square. If fx equal to x square, that means what? F of minus x equal to minus of x square, na?
Yeah.
Minus of x square is also x square, correct? That is equal to fx, correct or not?
Yes.
So what we get? F of minus x equal to fx, which is the case. So that implies fx is an even function. Correct or not?
Yes.
Now let's take another function gx. Let me give you another example of an odd function. Suppose it is x cube. So this implies, what is g of minus x? Is nothing but minus of x whole cube. Correct or not, dear students?
Yes.
So that is equal to minus x cube. So that is the minus of gx. So we apply this concept here.
Yes.
This implies gx is an odd function. Clear or not clear?
Yes.
So what we learned, that if fx is an even function, in that case, minus a to a fx dx would be equal to 2 times integration 0 to a fx dx. And if fx is an odd function, the value of the definite integral minus a to a fx dx is 0, as simple as that. Okay, you can explore again, dear students. You can take that NCERT book, take few examples, and you will find that it is so well understood once you go through my lecture. And after that, the last property what I'm going to discuss with you now is here I'm going to first show the property and then followed by discussion. It says that integration a to b fx dx, integration a to b fx dx, this is the 8th property, okay, is equal to b minus a into integration 0 to 1 f of b minus a x plus a dx. Take some examples of your own choice and explore this thing. You will understand. Now, so with this, we are done with the fundamentals of definite integration. Now, once we are very, very well versed with it, later, after a few months, we'll be discussing more advanced concept of definite integration, like that, how to perform definite integrals of periodic functions, how to apply the Leibniz rule, and how to apply, involving the sine to the power nx and cos to the power nx. These are advanced concepts, and that will be discussed, and especially important for JEE Advanced, that we'll discuss later. Now, as an assignment, what I'm going to give is that you can, I'm going to share one screen with you now, and I'll tell you that what are the, two DPPs you need to solve. Okay, is it fair enough, dear students?
Okay, yes.
Okay. I'm just going to stop sharing this particular page, and I'm going to share another one. All of you are aware of it. I just want to tell you that exactly what you need to do, but just a minute, matter of a minute. Before that, please confirm, dear students, that all of you are able to view www.konarkclasses.com.
Yes.
Okay. Then you just go to click login and give your login and password. Okay. And then click on login. Then go to write online examination. And then you just search with integrals. Then you will find here, suppose you go to the 18th one. Okay. And you will find this, definite integration. You see, dear students? Okay. But here what is mentioned, dear students, is that evaluate the following definite integral as limit of sum. Forget about limit of sum. You just find the definite integral. That is the concept what we learned, GB minus G. Got it, no? Okay. Limit of sum, as I said, we'll discuss later. So, I'll tell you that like this, set 18, set 19 also you can do. Okay. Got my point, dear students?
Yes.
Okay, so with this, I would like to conclude the class for today, unless you have any specific comments for me or any specific question. Our next class is tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.